Good day and welcome to the Robust Ramblings podcast. Today I'm going to be having an amazing conversation with a good friend and serial entrepreneur, Stefan Beukes, who's going to be sharing on setbacks and failures. Now, he overcame that in his own life to be successful in his entrepreneurial journey. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with a good friend of mine, Stefan Beukes. So he's not just a good friend, but also someone that I really look up to. He's a serial entrepreneur, if I can use those words. I think it's a good explanation. We'll go a bit more into the detail of that in a moment. Really a guy that loves the Lord. He's 25 years old, so still 26 years old, still very young.
Actually 25, going to 20 big month.
Yeah. we can stick to 26 then. And even though, Stefan, I mean, you're, from most people's perspective, very young, you've went through quite a lot of challenging business stuff in your own life. I mean, you've got I think a spectacular story to share from your after school years, going through studies, what that looked like, impact of COVID, all of those things. And I think we can get into that, a bit of that as well. But I want to welcome you. So thank you for creating some time. Yeah. So, Stefan, I think today I think we've got quite a lot of potential things we can discuss. But I want to see where God leads us in this. Maybe you can start by sharing just a bit of your own background. I think on the one hand for you to get a bit more comfortable as well. Where you're from, where you grew up, your journey with entrepreneurship. I know your parents have businesses, so you had a bit of exposure to that growing up. So maybe you can just share a bit of that and then we see where it leads.
No, thanks, Leon. I think it's quite cool, the story that I've been in, and it's quite a really privileged story, that my story. It's not a average story. So I think something that I've been growing up in an entrepreneurial family. So my dad's been doing business since I can remember. And growing up, my dad, we didn't get a lot of pocket money. So the rule in our house was he's always happy to fund our business ventures. And then we can actually, through that, generate some income.
That's really cool. Did he take a percentage of your...
there was actually no percentage thing. So we just needed to, I think the agreement was we need to actually pay the money back. But a lot of the times we could have kept everything that we did.
That's amazing.
But I started from there I had chickens, selling eggs. In high school, I started doing website development. There's one really big project that I took on. In matric, I've been actually working for one of my friends' dad had a brewery, and I've been working at expos and stuff, just for extra money. And they had a problem. They call it a ice bank controller, or an ice bank, which the beer flows through an ice bank and then it's cold on the tap.
Okay.
And that controller was giving issues, and there's no one that actually sells that thing. And I've always had the thing about saying yes and then afterwards trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So they asked me, can I build an ice bank controller? And I've been actually quite good on the technical side and projects and stuff that I did. So in my matric year, I said, yes, I'll build it.
So in high school, where most people have no technical experience whatsoever, you went and you tried to figure out how this thing works. After saying yes, you'll do the work.
Yeah, but I think with just that, I've been busy with a lot of technical stuff, building a lot of electronic stuff and programming through high school, just in my free time.
Okay.
And that was quite a challenging project. I had a friend of my dad was like an electronic engineer that I also went with, and he helped and everything. And we designed the PCBs, flew it in from China, and that was actually, it was a really successful project. It's still working till today.
Oh, wow. So this thing still actually generates revenue?
No, not as a business, but as the product still working. Okay. The ice bank controller is still working in that. And that was, I think in matric, I made like 6,000 or 7,000 rand with that. But it was quite something awesome, saying yes to something that you think you have the ability to do it, but you're not completely sure. And then taking the risk and then actually doing that. So at the end of matric, I really knew that God called me to go into business one day, but I've also been really good with technical skills. And I was asking the Lord, what should I do with my life? And I really felt the Lord said to me, I need to give a year to Him. And I've been like praying and asking the Lord what to do. And I looked at missionary work, and I came across Metamorpho, a gap year course at Oxadea, and enrolled into that. And that was a really awesome year where God fundamentally changed a lot of things in my character and the way that I'm thinking about the Lord and the way that I'm thinking about life. It was really, really instrumental to actually forming the foundation to where I actually make decisions now in my life. And after that, I went to Potchefstroom, studied computer and electronic engineering. It was really a nice time building relationships, and I could see that.
Well, that's where we met for the first time as well.
Yeah. But I think that first year coming in, we were on a hike together in Clarence.
Yeah. Oh wow, at the Cannibal Trail.
Yeah. That was where we met. So that's really awesome. Even just before, I think the study started and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Sure. We were thinking about that hike the other day between Renee, my wife, and I. We were thinking back that we should actually do another multi-day hike again.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. And then in my third year, that was when COVID actually started.
Yeah.
My dad is in the pharmaceutical industry, so his company really expanded and boomed in that time. So when everyone was locked down, we had those permits to actually travel around and do business, and we've been working like crazy in that time. So it was also a recess time in the university. So I've been like full-time busy with my dad building out the company. And when the study started getting momentum again, I needed to make a decision. What am I doing at the moment? Am I continuing with my studies, or am I continuing with helping my dad out at the company? And at that stage, the decision was that if I help my dad for the rest of the year, the amount of money that we can actually make would also be quite significant. And then I don't know, in English talk, you stopped your studies just for the year. Paused your studies for that year. So I paused my studies for the year, and the university said it's fine if I just leave it for a year, then I can continue the next year again with my third year.
Okay.
And in that time, I actually saw an opportunity to make those plastic face shields.
Yeah. Oh, those things that everyone had to wear during COVID.
Yeah. So my uncle was busy. He's also just an entrepreneur. And he saw an opportunity to buy, he had a contact in China to buy like normal 3-ply masks and K95 masks. And he was flying those masks in by airplane loads.
Sure.
So it was quite crazy, the amount of stuff that he flew in from China. And he said that he'll be able to fund this venture. I need to just make sure that the production is happening, and we really need to scale. There's quite a lot of opportunity to sell. So we scaled the plant in like 3 months from getting to, I had around 40 people working for me at that stage.
Sure.
And we had the potential, if we did a 24-hour shift, to make 25,000 masks per day. So it was a really big production line that we had. And we were so close. There was a opportunity to export these masks to the US. And we sent through a pallet full of these masks in COVID, flying them out to Miami. And then they wanted to order 1 million of these face shields. So on 1 million order, I would have made like 3 million rand in profit for myself after the splits and everything.
Yeah.
My uncle.
Wow.
And I was really stressed in that, but
I mean, every person that I know notwithstanding the age of, I mean, at that time you were 22, right?
No, I was 20 going to 21. It was like I was 21 in that year.
Needing to manage 40 people. And I mean, that's 40 people in a very stressed time.
Yes.
Even COVID.
And then what also happened was my uncle got busy with other business, and I needed to manage everything then in that stage. So I didn't sleep a lot. It was really a tough time.
Yeah.
But quite a growing up season in my life.
Would you say it was overwhelming in the sense that it was maybe too much at that time for you? Or do you think...
Yeah, if I think back, I wasn't at all equipped to actually do that. And I made a lot of mistakes that I regret today.
Yeah.
With the choices that I made back then. But those choices was also the reason why there's better things that happened after that.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there, and really just trying is like the best school that you can actually go through. And with that said, the regulations changed in the US, and the face shields wasn't required anymore, and they cancelled the order. So we were like 1.8 million rand into this project.
Sure.
That we put into doing this project. We had about 600,000 rand of sales, just locally in that time, but still had a loss of 1.2 million rand.
Yo, as a 21-year-old, that is.
And we went 50 into this. So I had a 600,000 rand debt at 21, and the business failed.
Yes, that is intense. Oh, wow.
So that wasn't so lekker.
Did you know did you understand the risk beforehand? Like, I know you say, yes, yeah, we went 50-50, but did you actually think about the potential impact if this would not work out? Because 600,000 rand as a loan, it's quite a big loan, and you probably don't get the interest rate that you get when you like do property or buy property.
Yeah, luckily there's no interest rate. It was just a business to business loan.
I can't.
No, that's not too bad, but it's relationship like. But my uncle wasn't so happy about this, and it's really not so I really felt bad about the whole situation. And I think the thing is that if these difficult things come, and it would come if you go into business, is never to go lie down.
Yeah.
So I started working full time with my dad again.
After this venture finished now.
Yeah, after this venture. And then I still felt the Lord put it on my heart to go into the blockchain development space.
So you completely put aside the idea to finish your studies then?
Yeah, so I was praying about it. Okay. And in that time, it was really something that the Lord spoke into my heart. And he said to me, Stefan, like, I really want you to continue in this business space. And I really clearly felt the Lord say I mustn't go and finish my studies.
Yeah.
But it's really countercultural.
Yeah.
And even for my parents, they supported this, but they really asked whether I'm sure this is the decision I need to make.
Yeah.
But it's to such an extent that even friends of our family called my dad and said, are they sure that I'm making the right decision?
Yeah. It's actually amazing that you have so many people with your best interest at heart. But I can understand culturally, just where we come from, it's a challenging thing because, I mean, our parents grew up in tough times.
Yeah.
And they just wanted us to have the best opportunity. And like the idea of having a degree was synonymous with that. If you want a good opportunity, you need a degree. That was kind of how they viewed it. So if I just think back to my own years, I remember sitting my parents down and telling them, I don't want to go study. And then them helping me and making the decision for me that I must go and study. And looking back, I'm glad at how my story played out, but the impact that it had on them and their view on the concept of you not studying, I can imagine that was a tough thing for them.
Yeah, and it's also like my grandparents and everything like that. It's quite a difficult, but my parents was really supportive through this process. And yeah, I just really felt the Lord putting it on my heart, even with this massive failure behind me.
Yeah.
To say, I really need to start this thing. And I didn't have any money at that stage. I was like in debt. So the thing, I had a conversation with my dad back then, and I said, I really feel in my heart I need to do this. But it is risky, and I can't pay for actually building this company. So the best plan that I could get was to pay my full salary that I'm getting at my dad to an employee in the company that can actually help start up this company. Work full time at my dad, and then actually borrow some extra money from him just to pay pay some of the extra stuff. I was really lucky. I still didn't have a lot of overheads back then, still staying at my parents. So that helped quite a lot. And then I had a discussion with my cousin to start this venture with, and actually start working with us to actually do this. And I remember it was quite stressful starting this thing, and it's really awesome how to see the Lord's hand in all of this. I think in the second month we've already broken even. Month third we could have employed another person, and then there was quite a lot of the business grew, and you'd also know now to where Why Not grew till today.
So that's the business's name, is Why Not?
Why Not Blockchain Solution. And we're currently employing about 10 or 11 engineers, doing various different projects and opportunities. And it's really, I think it's looking back, it's God's hand through all of this. There's something that I was still unsure how my future would look. So Why Not became a lot more financially stable in the next year or two. And I had a bit of money that I've built up over that time. And I was always, the Lord had a specific purpose. I always envisioned the idea that almost like an incubation hub where we can start businesses and funding businesses and do that. So I had that on my heart and burning, and I wanted to try that. So for a season, I got a little bit less involved in Why Not as an active director, and I started this incubation hub. And something, during this process, we started about 3 different companies. One in the imports and exports in the agricultural space in South Africa. We also started in the construction space in South Africa, and then we saw an opportunity to import coffee green beans, and then sell the coffee green beans locally. There was a really big arbitrage opportunity for a while. And I'm sad to say, but all 3 of them failed. And there was various different reasons for it, and I lost all the money that I've put into those companies. And I think there's so many lessons that I learned through this process, and in that God really focused my vision and what to do to actually what we started with Why Not, and they became a real focus in my life, making sure that the one company that actually has a bit of success just grows a lot better, and actually fulfilling its mission. And we're even with Why Not still in the infancy stage, in the startup stage, and to actually just have all my dedicated focus to getting this one company into a successful company one day.
Cool, So Stefan, what's really interesting for me is basically the total number of businesses that you've started, because someone who started like 10 or 15 businesses in their lifetime, we would say that was many. And you've done half of that already up until the age of 26, well, 25, 26 now. Now, if I think of the challenges you've went through, one of the things that's highlighted for me, and this is something I really admire of you, is the fact that you're not scared to take a risk when there's a dream that we spoke about having a dream earlier at the coffee table here, and having a dream for something and then running fully after that. So maybe you can speak into how you view managing risks if you know there's a bigger picture that you want to work towards.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. I think something that that I've been really thinking about was that if we're in partnership with the Lord, or the Lord's working through our lives onto earth. So our total focus is to actually build His kingdom on earth. So my standing point is actually to say, Lord, what is the dreams and passions or the dreams and purpose that you put in my life that you want me to live out into this broken world? And I think starting from that point, there's dreams that the Lord put in my heart that I really wanted to fulfill. And taking a risk out of a place where you really feel that the Lord's called you to do in that area isn't as high as a risk, in my opinion, as it's something that you really feel that you're called to do. I think the difficult thing that does happen is when you do go through failures, not to see those failures as like everything's against you, but actually as learning opportunities, and to push through that pain to actually start dreaming again, to actually see a future where things are different. And continue dreaming, even though there's a lot of failures that you experience down the line. Even if you, for example, haven't started a lot of different companies, but you have one company that you're growing, there's so many failures that you're going to experience, even within that specific company, that it's quite hard to continue dreaming and living out that dream that the Lord put in your heart for you actually to start.
Yeah, so I mean, how did you do that practically? So, to bounce back from those failures? Because, I know many people, after they had some massive financial setback. We saw that recently in a city close to us in Klerksdorp. It's two major businessmen, big businessmen. They were in their 50s, got families, they were making millions, and then from COVID their businesses started failing, and then they lost everything. And two really big businessmen committed suicide because they didn't have the tools or the will, to bounce back from that. So what did you do that made your story different?
So I think one of the things is there's a company called Expand. They do leadership development, and even before I started in Metamorpho, I did their resilience course.
So it's like a coaching company, right?
Yeah, like a coaching company.
Okay.
And in their resilience course, they have a really awesome book about resilience. That actually, so resilience is the ability to bounce back, like a rubber ball. So if you lose your stiffness or your resilience, it's like dough that just falls on the ground.
Sure.
You're not able to actually bounce back. And there's a lot of practical steps that you can put into your life that helps build resilience. And that's something that I've started implementing. And it's things like having enough sleep every night. Things like making sure that you don't look at your business. There's seasons in your life where your business needs a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But not to make that season unnecessarily long. So you need to look holistically at your life and see that there's a lot of balls that you need to still juggle. And that business is one portion of your worship that you live out every single day.
Yeah.
But it isn't everything. And if you have a balanced life with healthy diet and exercise and everything like that, it helps you to really be resilient if you're experiencing setbacks. And then also when you do experience a setback, to have a community that you can discuss these things, speak about it, actually work through that setback that you experience, and then also challenge yourself to not stop dreaming. To do that. There was a friend of my dad, also a very successful businessman, and he came out of a township, and he said the biggest problem for township people to actually get out of their circumstances is the ability to dream. They lose the ability to dream. And he started a theme park to actually help children from townships start dreaming again that there's a life better than that they're experiencing at the moment. So if you continually have setback after setback after setback, that hope, that dream that things can actually go better, because of prior disappointments, you actually lose all of that ability to dream.
Sure.
And that's something as an entrepreneur that is so crucial that you can't lose. As a leader, as an entrepreneur, you need to speak into darkness. There's a book specifically for men of courage, that speaks about how God created a man. And he said we need to go and speak into the darkness, name the animals, do the work, go into areas that we actually need to conquer and actually bring God's kingdom. And doing business is exactly that. It's that going into areas which is unknown, which is difficult, into darkness, and still being able to actually have the ability to dream and have a vision to where you're actually heading.
That's so interesting. I recently started watching this series on the Springbok World Cup journey, Chasing the Sun, the second part that they released now. And they only released the first episode of this, and it looks at the life of some of the players. One of them being Mani Lebok. He had some challenges during the World Cup, and some people had opinions about him, but it shows where he came from. So he comes from a small town in the Eastern Cape called Humansdorp, also from a township community. His dad left when they were really young, and then his grandmother raised him, and and looked after his mother as well. And his uncle one day came to him and gave him a green shirt, and he said, this is a dream for you that you can hold on to. And he decided as a young kid, this is my way out. This is my dream. This is what I'm going to sacrifice for, because I want to play for the Springboks one day. And I mean, he was playing on the biggest stage in the world, part of the team that won the World Cup, and he played a crucial role within that. And so what was that dream for you to be able to bounce back, if you had to verbalize it?
Yeah, I think it changes in seasons, but to actually envision yourself that there's a better scenario, a better life out of the scenario that you're actually finding yourself. My father-in-law is also my business partner, and I really look up to him. And a lot of with Why Not, we have this whole navigating theme. And something that he said, and it's so true, to navigate life, you need to know where you are at the moment, and you need to know where you're heading.
Yeah.
And it's really, if you don't know where you're heading, if you don't have that dream, you don't know where to navigate. So to force yourself in a very difficult situation to dream, and then to figure out how the steps towards that dream would be possible.
Sure, that's very good. So something you mentioned earlier, which I picked up on, so you're speaking about the practical steps of becoming more resilient, as the sleeping, exercising, eating, good diet, etc., and having a community. All of those things, if I had to encompass it into one word, sounds to me like discipline. Like discipline leads to resilience. And a lot of people going through a tough time, whether it be for entrepreneurial reasons, a business didn't work out, they lost someone close to them, whatever the case may be, it's easy to go into a depressive state where you kind of like don't worry anymore. You don't have the energy to try and put disciplines in place. How would you encourage someone like that to just take the first step? Because I mean, my personality is a lot like, just get over it and start doing something. But I know that's not always helpful. So I mean, if you had to help someone like that.
I had a real challenge in my heart about the topic of discipline.
Yeah.
So I'm not a person that actually likes sticking to a schedule.
Yeah.
And waking up at 5 a.m. every single morning, doing all these different things throughout the day, and then sticking to the schedule. And a lot of the times, if someone speaks about discipline, that was actually the thought that came up, is you're very disciplined, you're committing to what you're saying, and you keeping to that program. And I had a conversation with a friend one day, also a very successful entrepreneur. And he said to me that discipline doesn't equal sticking to specific times. Discipline is making sure that what is important in your life, you're getting to that.
Yeah.
Everything. It's similar to looking at everything that you like, juggling goals. Similar to looking at all of those things and asking yourself, am I getting to everything that is important for my life? And I think for me personally, discipline is to get at that. So sometimes my training schedule looks quite different. It's not a set routine every single day. And something that also helped me quite a lot is in these times when things are difficult, a lot of the times you tend to just continue working the whole time. But you don't process and think about that. And it was really to set aside time just to think about things and process things. And it's also okay. It's also work to just. So I think practical things that I've done was to literally go ride a bicycle or go for a walk in the middle of the work day for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Just to pray and think about what happened, and in relationship to the Lord, ask Him how the future should look like.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was a very intentional step in place for you to process what took place, to not be ignorant of what happened, the failures that you went through, and to work through that and grow.
Yeah.
So if we can take that for a moment and just stop there, what do you think are the, let's say, 2 or 3 things that you realized that you had to either make adjustments after those failures to grow, or that you saw you did actually grow through that process? And if you had to highlight maybe 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, I think one of the things was, I'm not proud of it, but I think being vulnerable is becoming arrogant in business. So as a young guy, you do feel like as soon as you've experienced a bit of success, you think like you've made it in life,
On top of the world.
on top of it. And I think something that really hit hard is the more that I'm going down this route of entrepreneurship and actually life, the more things I realize I don't know.
Yeah.
And the more things I realized looking back in my life, I really feel so stupid about the way that I acted, the way that I spoke, as being arrogant in that specific thing. So I'm all for being passionate about something, but passionate doesn't change into arrogance. And that was a really big lesson that I learned is to really stay humble in this process, as there's going to be downs and there's going to be ups, and then downs again. So it's not like, it's that happens. Then the other thing that I also realized was to have all the people really close by in this journey and learning from them. So if I'm thinking about all the businesses that did work and fail, these that I had partnerships with all the people in my life within that business, and going on their experience and having their experience part of the decision making is really critical to actually success. So I would really encourage every young person that has the opportunity to go into partnership with someone that's already been in business for quite a long time and does resemble kingdom business in the way that they're doing business. It's a really, really good idea to go into business with them just for your own personal growth. And learning. There's a lot of things that you think you know, but you realize that it's only comes through experience. And the longer that I'm in this, the more I understand that I have less that I actually should know. And it's something really that all the businessmen can teach you and learn you those finer tricks of the trade. to make good decisions when times are tough.
So I think that's a very valuable two comments. On the one hand, humbling yourself. I remember, when you just come out of university, you think you know everything because you got your degree now. And there's those stages that people say you go through. You think you know everything, and the more you learn, the more you realize you know less. And eventually, if you're an expert, then you don't know everything. You know a lot about some specific topic. So I think that's very wise, what you learned through that process. So it's one good thing that came out of the challenges. And the second thing is basically having, on the one hand, if you can have partners, that means you give away a portion of the profits of the pie. And all of us grow up in a world where I think most people want to take as much as possible for themselves. But it means it's more stress, more risk, more challenges, more time required for you to run it. Whereas if you can share the load with someone who has experience, your chances of success increases. That's what we see in your life. And also the stress that you have to live under decreases.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily about the stress, but I think the training that you have under someone that actually knows a lot more, and the development in your personal life is fast tracked.
Yeah,
so you can achieve a lot more in a shorter period of time, just because you've put yourself in a position where it's actually more difficult working with someone. Like sometimes in the past, I really thought I was the one that actually was correct. And that's the same on the arrogant side. And there was a lot of fighting within the partners. And looking back, it was actually me that's just being arrogant and still very young and unwise in the way that I've been acting. And understanding and learning those skills really helps. And I think something that you've mentioned is there's this culture shift between Northern European culture and Anglo-American culture.
Okay.
And we're currently, South Africans is living in an Anglo-American culture. So it's very short-sighted, very results-driven culture, where the Northern European culture is a lot more mastery-driven as a culture. And what is really interesting, if it transpires into the workplace in Northern European is a lot more mastery-driven, where in the Anglo-American, it's just short-term results and profits that we need to make. And interesting enough, they did a study between the two economies, and the Northern European economy beat the Anglo-American economy by 2 or 3 times in a period of 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
So it grown 2 to 3 times faster than the Anglo-American short-sighted, profit-driven economy. And I think with that's a really big lesson that I learned with starting those 3 companies incubation up. I had no experience in that area. That was nothing that I always thought would be nice to have. Zero experience. All the experience that I did build that in my life and the hours that I've put in is actually very suited to the work that Why Not's doing. But not suited to being an incubation hub.
Yes.
And something that I realized is, even if you look to your personal life as an entrepreneur, you think you can actually start all these different companies and be successful in all of them. And yes, there's rare cases that is the truth, but you need to choose which thing you're going to become a master in your life. And that's something that I would encourage everyone that decides to start a business, is to say, is this in the line of my mastery? Because the chances that you have for your business to be a success is a lot more if it is in your mastery journey. And so that is something
that's good. That's a very good, I think it's a very wise piece of advice for anyone that listens to know to think of it in that way. Because even us, we've started 2 businesses between my wife and myself. One not at all in anything that we were really skilled at, We learned a lot from that, which we could then apply in the second business. But the first one wasn't really profitable. We basically broke even, but the skills we learned was valuable. And I think that's what we can see in your life as well. The skills you learned, the character building that took place, what not to do. It's also valuable things that you've learned. And then in the second one, I actually built something that was built around a skill set that I had. And even though it's not necessarily a scalable business, it was something that was profitable and could sustain part of my life for a certain period of time. So I think that's really wise information.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, Stefan, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. I look forward to having another conversation with you in the future.
Yeah, no, it would be like that.
Yeah, and delving into some of these realities. But thank you for being so open, sharing some of your challenges, and also, what God has done in your life and how He's still using you. It's really amazing to see the effort and the intentionality that you guys built. Why not as a business with? It's inspiring. It's also dream driven. So I think I can really see the stuff that you've been sharing in your life. It's not just knowledge. It's actually stuff that you've implemented. So well done, and I trust to see that it will be very successful.
Thanks, Gideon. Appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, Stefan.
Thanks for being here today. Your support is invaluable. Please share our podcast with others who might enjoy it. Stay tuned for more great discussions with entrepreneurs and leaders. Follow us on TikTok for extra content. Until then, stay curious and take care. Thanks.